G'day guys, IEM Fever is now upon us. Another IEM Sydney, the Great Reunion 2023. We're going to have an absolute banger at the Aware Super Theatre. But first of all, we want to get to know our teams, and we want to get to know where the destiny shall lie. Now, first of all is the tournament structure. So as you guys can see, the tournament structure, it's a double elimination. Basically, the lower bracket can get into the middle to quarterfinals. The winner of the upper bracket will be in the semifinals, and the loser of the upper bracket will be in the other quarterfinals as well. So with the single elimination bracket as well, we can scroll down here. Obviously, this is provided by Liquipedia. I love the doggos, and Ence and Jeff for all his work. And as you can see down here as well, that the second place of Group B will play the third place of Group A, and the second place of Group A will play the third place of Group B, and it'll be the semifinals where Group A's first player will first winner of the first match between Group B and Group A, the second place and third place. And obviously the lower bracket between Group A's second place and third place. Now, in the playoff bracket, it's a single elimination, so if you lose in there, there's no extra chances. And, well, the winner being into the grand final, of course, as well. Now, let us highlight the first team, Ence. Snappy as the IGL, Saw as the coach. Ence has had a mixed sort of history with a lot of these events, especially in ESL events as well, where they can get the job done to an extent, but they can't get the final thing at the end. They've only done it once, but they've all got the sum of the parts together. They've got a great IGL, they've got great AMers, they've got a great coach. It's just, they can't get it together at the end. They get to these semi-final bursts and grand final bursts, there's just not enough. And I feel that Ence will finally break the deadlock, and I think they're going to be the winners here. Ence is going to be very unexpected. I mean, the last one that they won was completely unexpected from Ence. I think that's going to be the case here. I think the Ence boys, Snappy's got the heart of gold, the heart of man mountain himself. They're going to go places, and they're going to clean up big in Sydney. Next up is Faze, with the leadership of Carrigan, the versatile, the greatest IGL I've probably ever seen, actually. And Faze have been left unchanged, other than the addition of Neo as the coach. Now, with Faze, I don't really see them going anywhere this tournament. I think Faze will be a shock early exit. They'll get eliminated. First off, they'll lose the first BO1, and they get eliminated in a BO3 afterwards. I don't see much of a future for Faze. I think this is going to be a really statement tournament that they've got so much to work on, because I just don't see anything for them. I mean, the last few tournaments for Faze have been, just shock exits basically over and over again. There is something wrong there, unfortunately, and we don't know what it is. Like, these players, I agree with them to not change any roster, but just nothing's working together at the moment for them. Next up, we got G2. A lot of missed opportunities here. You got Hunter, Swan is 20 as the coach, Hooksy, GigaChat IGL. What can they do in Sydney? Now, obviously, JKS returning to his old stomping grounds in Australia, so he's got the home court advantage as well. A lot of crowd will be cheering for him as well. Hunter and Nico have got something to prove. G2 don't go well in group stages, but they've been improving. Now they just don't go well in the finals instead. Now, will G2 get very far? Yeah, they will get very far. Will they go all the way? Very unlikely. I don't think the home crowd advantage is going to help JKS too much. And I feel like this time around it's going to be more of an unexpected team. I mean, looking at ESL Challenger Melbourne, unexpected team took that one out. Wasn't any of the hometown heroes. But overall, talk about G2, I just feel like they just don't have the it factor. I mean, Hooksy has performed at some points, but he's largely inconsistent. I haven't seen the X factor from G2 yet. It's just been standard attrition CS2 overall from these guys. And unfortunately, the nitty gritty ain't gonna win yourself here, unfortunately. Next up is Mouz, and Mouz have had visa troubles, which has left their superstar prodigy, Jim Fat, out, and next year's coming back in, coached by Cyclone as well, who's absolutely a star of a Danish coach, a revelation, coming out from Mouz next. And finally, the Mouz boys have all been reunited from this economy roster to the main team. Now, Mouz picked up Sui from GamerLegion, grabbing him back because obviously with GamerLegion he made an absolute gem performance, so why not? They still got Zershin and Torzi there as well. Torzi, very aggressive AWP, can be a bit hit or miss, but I think the biggest thing that's going to hit Mouz the most is missing out on JimFat. I mean, JimFat has been an absolute revelation for this team. I see Mouz at least getting to the finals, but I think that's just where the journey ends for about the quarterfinals. I think the missing piece of JimFat is going to hurt them big in big moments where they need to lift, and the door's just going to come slamming down, and they're not quick enough to get away with the cheese, Mouz. Now time for the new look Navi with Simple, and he's remade his team with Bit. He's got Alex at B as IGL, picked up JL from Apeks and Eme from GamerLegion, literally picking the two best aimers out of these teams, and Blade still as the coach. I wonder how much Blade operates Alex at B as a coach, given, Electronics indices as well, or Electronics abilities going to Cloud9. I think Navi will put up a better than expected performance in Sydney. They're not going to win it. I think they're going to get eliminated probably in the semi-finals or the quarterfinals, but they're going to put up a good enough, fight. Now, someone has said that Simple may not be playing in IEM Sydney, and if that is true, Navi are in tatters. I mean, Simple's probably the life and soul of this team at this point, and, they need a quality AWPer to back up Eme and JL, as they can just more focus on the actual gameplay and getting entrances while the AWPer's all taken care of. Simple seems to be a very, very team-based player as well, so missing the heart and soul of your team could drag the fire out of their souls, and they can't really go on, especially when the going gets tough. However, if they do play as Simple, I expect Navi to go quite far. I think they have a better expected tournament. I think this team has got a really, really high ceiling, especially with JL and Eme in the roster as well. Once they start getting used to this team, you're going to see Eme and JL be all over that kill feed. And believe me, that is going to happen. Next up is Vitality, and Apeks, the COD hater himself. All you have to do, COD just auto-aims for you. Love Apeks so much. Apeks is such a character. With Matt as the coach, and they finally got the two pieces they need. They finally got Spinks and Flames, the two Israeli superstars that were with Endpoint at one point. I love memeing Endpoint, okay? Memeing Endpoint is my favorite thing to do, okay? Just reminding Endpoint that they were both on Endpoint at one stage. Now, to less memes and more dreams, Vitality are going to make it to the finals, okay? Vitality are probably one of the strongest teams. There's a reason why they're highest rankings. And it's not because they've got all the spark and the razzle dazzle and whatnot. It's because they've got the experience. They've got the grit. They've got a great AWPer in Zyru, as long as the air condition is right. Of course, the air quality could be high. If it's low, Zyru can't function. But now they've got two great Israeli AWPers. Riflers. Jeez, how do you get that one wrong? And they got a great IGL and Apeks, one of the greatest AWPers. And last but not least, they got the experience in Magisk. But unfortunately, no Zonic. And could be an issue here. But Vitality, they're going to get close, but not close enough. They've been starting off great, but just been sputtering towards the end, and that's what's been costing them. I think Vitality are going to lose in the grand final. They'll get there at least. They've got the experience, they've got the skill to get there, but I just think they'll fall a few yards short. Next up, we've got Cloud9. Now, Cloud9 made a bold change, picking up both Perfecto and Electronic in the absolute roster mania, backed up by Groove. So far, Cloud9's results have been so-so. Their first tournament, they just went down, and everyone was trying to give excuses, why Cloud9 went down. But Cloud9 have shot back a bit as well, and had made a deep run just earlier. However, which Cloud9 we're going to get? We're going to get the Jekyll, or we're going to get the Hyde? Now, it hasn't been absolutely drama-free with Cloud9, with a lot of analysts going on to was Nafani, the former IGL before he left. And now they're starting to sing the praises. They believe Cloud9 is a well-beaten team. But I'm just going to say I don't see this for Cloud9. I don't see Cloud9 being this well-beaten team. I feel like they're going to be cleaned up by Ence and Cloud9. They'll get far in the lower bracket. But I reckon they could get down by complexity in the lower bracket. Not entirely too sure what happened there, but I think Cloud9 will get close, but they won't qualify for that quarterfinal. They'll just be beaten because there's just a lot of better teams in B. One of the boys I like the most, the GamerLegion boys, okay? This roster has changed so much, but it's good to see Isaac and Acor still on that roster, and Kios as well. But this roster has changed so much. I remember this time, the start, where they had Scream in the roster, then they built a roster around Rusty and Nork, and now they're back to here. So they've got a new RGL and Snacks. It's good to see that Ash is still the coach of GamerLegion. Otherwise, I wouldn't recognize this GamerLegion at this stage. Now, I love bullying GamerLegion, but they're a great team. They've lost Eme, they've lost Sui, they've got the heart and soul ripped out of them. But they're still going. They're still pushing. And they're still getting those headshots. Now, what will happen to Sydney, though? They're not going to make finals, unfortunately. Their group's pretty rough. I think basically, losing Eme, losing Sui is just too much. They're not the top caliber team that they were. But, even adding Snacks into the roster, Snacks has the experience. But he hasn't played Tier 1 CS for a very long time. And I feel like his skills would be a bit behind, kind of like a Hunden scenario as well. And I feel like Snacks could be the thing holding GamerLegion back. But I'm going to say it's good of them enough to just give it a shot and give it a crack against a tier 1 opposition. And I got to commend GamerLegion on that as well. I reckon they're going to have a shock, not have a shocker, but they're going to shock some teams. And they're going to have some amazing clutches, especially from Kios. Next up, Monte. And this is a team that's got something to prove. They got pushed out in the previous tournament. They got Warrior, they got DemQQ, always mad with a bit of controversy themselves. They got Crashdown from the Polar scene, SDY, Sunday Young, IGL from Spirit. He's been a journeyman IGL and a great IGL at that. And they got Bro, one of the Danish talents, backed up by LMBT, Caster, basically a big part of the Ukrainian CS scene. Now with Monte at ESL Pro League, they were very shaky. I mean, they dropped them back to Rooster, and that's not that good at all, if I'm going to be honest. I mean, if you come to IEM Sydney and taking on probably Vertex or Grayhound, I'd be a bit worried that you got cleaned up by Rooster. Now, Monte have been looking a bit shaky ever since Warrior proved against Simple that, they could beat them anywhere, any place kind of thing. I feel like, they've won the battle against Simple, but the drive is starting to fall back a bit for Monte. And I think this is going to pretty doom Monte here. I actually see them losing to Grayhound in the BO3 in the lower brackets. I see them getting knocked out by Grayhound. I think the Grayhound will get their number. Grayhound are better to Rooster. Monte, I gotta say right now, if they really want to make a deep run, if they really want to come to these tournaments and continue coming to these tournaments, they need to make a deep run here. If they need their hunger, like they need that hunger that they had, that Warrior had in beating Simple previously. Next up is Fnatic, led by Dexter. And also, you get Rory, Mezzy, Crims, Afro, and coached by Cater. Overall with Fnatic, a leadership overhaul, a much needed leadership overhaul. Fnatic finally put a IGL in, and Mezzy relinquishing the IGL role. I think this is a great decision by Mezzy to do that. I applaud him for doing that. Sometimes you got to acknowledge what you can do, what you can't do, and sometimes you just need to get an IGL in. And Dex has been a very hot IGL prospect in many teams, and even in the Australian scene as well, because of course he's Australian. He's encountered with a oh, that was a meme? Oh, he's not an accountant? He doesn't have a family? What am I going to do now? Like, what am I going to say? Just kidding. Fnatic, I feel like they're just going to get knocked out in the lower bracket. A lot of high quality teams. I think they're going to get edged out by Complexity. I think I'm overrating Complexity because I've said twice now that they're going to eliminate teams. It's going to be a close lower bracket affair between Complexity and Fnatic. Mezzy is an absolute GOAT, ironically enough, given Lionel Messi. But yeah, I feel Fnatic just gonna get knocked out the lower bracket. They're gonna get close, but not close enough. And it's gonna be a ruthless gauntlet in that lower bracket. Good luck to them though. If I see Fnatic in the finals, I wouldn't be too surprised either. Especially with Afro on that roster as well. Afro is an absolute prodigy. The French prodigy on that AWP reminds me of Kenny S with the miracles that man can create. Grayhound. The most perennial disappointment team that I always see when I'm an Australian fan, okay? It reminds me of my Fremantle Dockers, okay? They lose the unlosable and win the unwinnable. They break my heart, and they also make my heart. I love these boys, okay? I really do love these boys. Now, Grayhound don't have a coach, but secretly they probably do have a coach. It's Mr. Grayhound's cat. So Mr. Grayhound scratches on the back of Josh's leg, so Ence's leg, I know his real name, we're bros like that, on what strategies they do, whether they, 2 scratches is B, 1 scratch is A. If you haven't realized at this point, the first part of it was a meme. Greyhounds are a great team, skillfully, okay? The only downside you could probably say is like maybe Sicko trying to adjust into a rifler role after going away from his AWP. Maybe that hasn't gone out yet, he hasn't had too much experience, but now he's like 2 years experience, of course. Maybe you could say that. But they are great mechanically. You got an IGL and Ence who could frag out and just go clutch mode at any moment. Sicko can do the same. Ali can do the same. Vexar and Liaz can do the same. I mean, Liaz proved it last time they were in City when he took on Cloud9 on his own. Okay, he was the Incredible Hulk just knocking Cloud9 all over the park in a vain attempt for Order to win a game there. As they lost, I think Cloud9 barely hung on to win, and Liaz being at 30 bomb, which was incredible at that time. Now, they've had a Vexite. Vexite's just, prodigy along the scene. Everyone knows he's going to do great things. He still is doing great things. And maybe Forward won't get into a boxing match with him this time around. What do you guys think? I think he'll get into a Twitter beef with him. Yeah. But I'm going to say of Grayhound, they're going to get a big whack on taking down Monte. But they ain't going to get into the arena. Grayhound are the heartbreak team for me, okay? I love them, but they break my heart always, okay? This is just an example of a Grayhound round. They start off great. They get into the site, they get the bomb planted. And in the mid game, they're just like, you know the horse meme, you know how that perfectly drawn horse, that's the early game. Then they have that half drawn horse, that's the mid game. And then they have that pencil crown drawing at the end of the tail. That's Grayhound in a nutshell. The early game is great, the mid game's alright, and the end game is, oh god, why? Next up is Apeks, and we got some returning former Aussies in Myth R, being the coach of Renegades previously at one point. Was it Renegades or Grayhound? I'm not terribly too sure. I really should check my history, okay? And then we got Jacob back from the Renegades roster as well. I don't see Apeks getting too far here, but let's go through what they are. Now with Apeks, they've got the RGL's kicks in. They made it very, very far in the major. JL left, that was a bit of a stab. Stico left, that's experience on the table. Off the table, I mean. But they've picked up Sasanito, and Sasanito is an amazing rifler. I experienced his experience, okay? I think it was Aurea, I don't know how to pronounce the team name, please forgive me. But Sasanito was, holy moly, he was demolishing that server. About 30 plus kills, and I'm just sitting there going like, this man is a man unleashed. But Sasanito hasn't shown it too much for Apeks yet. Of course, that was in the advanced or the lower divisions where he can dominate, but he needs to really show that on the tier 1 scene. I don't think it will happening. I think missing Stico is going to be huge for this team. Apeks, you're going to win a few matches, but you're going home as well. Next up is Betboom, and jeez. These stories write themselves, don't they? Nafani on a revenge track. The comeback. Will he get revenge against his ex-team of Cloud9? And he's got some absolute characters to boot. Nafani's eyes light up revenge. He's going after Cloud9. But is that going to be the fairy tale ending that he's want? He's got some great players in Siren, Zorte, Chiron from XVP, and an unproven dentist with a unproven coach in Eyeshines as well. Will they get there in the end? I think Nafani and his boys will never get to meet Cloud9, just like Cloud9 will never get to meet them as well. Both teams bowing out in the lower bracket, and we're not going to have the rivalry grudge match between the Cloud9 of New and the Revenge Tour of Nafani. Well, next up is Jason Lake, the heart and soul of NACS, and I gotta say Complexity. Given how they're performing lately, I'm pretty bullish on Complexity actually. The team guys in there as well. We got JT Floppy, Graham Holzerk, who looks like an American with that giant mullet of his, Elige and TC as the coach. I'm a bit bullish on the Complexity, as I said. Now with Complexity, ever since they replaced Fang with Elige, it's been a direct upgrade. And I was thinking, maybe they're going in now, going a bit early, trying to get their premiership window or championship window now. But now I'm thinking like, wow, this is a net upgrade. Elige brings so much to this team. And you've just seen it click just like that. Complexity's tournament results, they're pushing a bit further. They're pushing the needle. They're knocking on the door. Tier 1 teams better watch out. And they will watch out. By Complexity, they're going to fall short. But damn, they're going to give a hell of a good fight. Elige is an absolute prodigy. Absolute a luminary for this team, okay? He's the one that's just like, they open the door and they hear, he's the player that they needed and the player that they wanted. They're going to be able to push into new boundaries with him as well. They've got Grim on the rifle as well. Grim's been a consistent player. He's been on and off a bit, but he looks like a new person. And I think they're going to come up big here. Holzerk on the AWP. This experiment is finally going to start working for Complexity. And finally, the bad luck that Complexity keeps having with their rosters is going to be a thing of the past. Lynn Vision. I'm going to admit, I don't know too much about this roster, but the biggest thing that I worry about Lynn Vision is their lack of LAN experience. The biggest concern I have for Lynn Vision is their lack of LAN experience. I haven't seen many of these players play, and I feel like some of these players are going to get a bit of stage fright. And I think Lynn Vision, they're going to be going out quite early. They'll lose that BO1, and they'll lose that BO3, and they'll be packing it up and going home to China, unfortunately. I don't see much of this team. There isn't stuff in this team that screams out, hey, we're going to be world beaters. I just don't see it. Sorry, guys. Vertex. They came out of the Ocean Qualifier beating Rooster 2-0. But I've got to say, I feel like they're just making up the numbers here. They've got a coach in Kingfisher, but they're going to need to do so much heavy lifting if they want to get anywhere here. Vertex, they're great in a small ocean, or a small pond, as in Australia. They've got some great players. Hazard is an absolute beast on the B side. Will he be a beast on the tier 1 scene? That's left to be decided. They've got a great AWPer in PZ, and IGL that's definitely improving in his in-game skills and his leadership skills, bringing Brace. But I think the main player to watch out for is Addict. Addict, the composure is yours. You need to be veins of ice. You need to lead this team with your action and give Brace someone to rely on here. We saw an ESL Challenger Melbourne previously against Imperial, where Imperial were destroying Vertex, and then Addict started training a few kills together, turning rounds to his favor, and Imperial were backed against the wall. If Vertex want to do that, it's going to start with Addict, then it's going to start with Brace, it's going to start with someone in there as well. And maybe a bit of banter from Malta as well. The man from Malta, he's got a lot of experience as well, wins a lot of 1v1s. But my honest thoughts, guys, is that Vertex isn't going very far. I think Vertex are just bye-bye, one and done, unfortunately. 0-2. It's just they don't have the experience, they don't have the skill to match up against this tier 1 opposition. These tier 1 oppositions are a lot harder than what they've encountered in tier 2 so far. And that's a wrap. So the winners, as I feel, is going to be Ence. They're going to be shocking everyone, and they're going to beat Vitality. I look forward to seeing all you guys at IEM Sydney. I'll be there from Thursday to Sunday. Obviously, there for each game, and I hope to see you guys there as well. Just remember, I'm a bit shy, so, you know, if I don't answer you right away, if I'm a bit quiet, that's generally my nature. But, you know, I do enjoy your company, and I do enjoy your appreciation as well. Hope you guys have a good time in Sydney, and just remember to climb the Sydney Harbour Bridge, okay? It's an epic experience, and you'll love it. Bye!